Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected ulama, elders, and dear brothers and sisters, it is with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are together with the intention of good, because nobody and no people can come together to do any good unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses them. We shall be studying during these 4 or 5 sessions, the first of which we attend today, the book of Imam Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala called Kitab al-Arba'iyya. That's the book, Fi Usul al-Din. And the first part of the book is about the Aqidah, and he gives 10 principles of Aqidah. Now, before I go into that, just 2 more things. There is another book of Imam Ghazali on Aqidah, and the first part is in Aqidah that we shall take today. The rest of the parts going through towards the end, towards the spiritualism, they will come in our subsequent sessions. The English translation of the book is available. This is Ghazali on the principles of Islamic purification, spirituality. The handout that you have is from this book. I've taken it. It's the gist of it. It's not the whole thing, but it will clarify all the things that are in here. One thing that I should clarify is that the basic aqidah of Sharia that we need to uphold, we need to hold, and we need to believe in is that we learn when we are children, when we say that Amantu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi, and on until end, wal ba'thi ba'da al-maut. Those are the tenets of faith we need to believe in. That is, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in messengership, in heavenly books, in angels, in resurrection after death, in hereafter, and in destiny. Al-qadr khayrin wa sharrin. And the simplest form is that we say and we utter and we believe that Amantu billahi kama huwa bi asma'ihi wa sifatihi wa qabiltu jami'a ahkam. I believe in Allah as He is. It's a very significant phrase, as He is. With His names, most beautiful names, with His attributes, and I accept all His commands. That's the minimum understanding of Aqidah about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have. What happens gradually with passage of time, things change. And the questions arise from different angles. In the time of Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, the questions were mainly from philosophers or non-Muslim theologians, and they tackled the matter from that angle. Right. In our time, and this is the reason, when they discuss aqaid, particularly about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their discussion is totally different than it is today. And it is different than it was before then. And we study Al-Ghazali, we study many other scholars During last 200 years, the topics discussed under the title of Aqidah have changed. In last 200 years, they have changed. So now the discussion and the style of discussion and the style of developing arguments all have changed. So if we want to study according to the questions raised in our time, I would suggest this book about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a book you can't do without. This is a book that you can't do without. I can assure you, you can't do without. And you can confirm after you read it. That is the book on divine oneness. And you will see the questions are totally different. Topics are totally different than the ones discussed by Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi. I would like to go through this book, but since we have decided to go through Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi, so I take that for now. Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi gave 10 principles here, and they are the ones you have in your hands in the form of handouts. If they are not with you yet, you will receive them. But Ghazali rahimahullah himself, in his very famous book Ihya Ulumuddin, the first volume, this is the English translation, you can study that as well. From page 100, page 200, maybe 6 to 226, those 20 pages we shall be going through. Right? So please, I said that I show you this because if we miss something, because we can't go through each word of the book, so you know where to go back, where to refer back if you want to know the details, right? So that's where you go. So we shall be taking from Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi ta'ala work and Ihya Ulumuddin. Right? So the first thing they mention here, these are the 10 principles you have in your hands from this book. Right? These are 10 principles about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are first 8 of them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Dhat, the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At-Taqdees, the sacredness, or being free of anything that resembles creation. Al-Qudra is omnipotent, is powerful, and Al-Ilm is omniscient, and his knowledge is all-embracing, all-inclusive. Nothing can escape his knowledge. His irada, his will. Then his sam' and basar, his hearing and seeing. Then his speech, Allah's speech. And then his actions. So these are the titles. I want you to have just an idea, just look how they used to discuss the aqidah about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what were the titles? What were the subjects they would discuss? In our time, when we talk about Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't discuss these titles, do we? In our sermons, in our speeches, books that printed today, you don't have, because the questions have changed. Once the question has changed, the answer will change. And that's the reason I said that this is the book you can't do without. If you want to study the Tawheed in terms of the question we are faced with in our time regarding Aqidah about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he mentions last two, Al-Yawm al-Akhir and An-Nubuwwah, prophecy. This is Imam Ghazali's work in this one. Now we go ahead from here and go to the Ghazali's work in Ihya Ulumuddin. In Ihya Ulumuddin, Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi ta'ala has 4 pillars. He established the 4 separate discussions. Each has 10 principles. So there are 40 principles altogether. Now this discussion has come from Ghazali, rahmatullah alayhi. It has a background of philosophers of that time and the masters of the logic of that time and the masters of the theology of that time, about centuries ago actually. So it will have a different understanding of the things. We may not be familiar with it, but since we have decided to go through this, so we'll go through this. I hope you won't mind. And I hope if you attend a bit with concentration, then we'll get it, inshallah. The first pillar is the knowledge of the essence of Allah, the Zat of Allah. About the Zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first principle is that we need to know that He exists. We need to know that He exists. That's the gist of the first pillar, is the knowledge of the existence of Allah Almighty. We need to believe that He exists. That is the first point we need to understand. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given details in Quran. He shows in detail, ask those who don't believe in Him, ask them, who created this heavens and earth? Man khalaqa as-samawati wal ard. They will say Allah. So the creation shows, that's the evidence Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is taking. He says this is the ingrained thing, inborn in human mind, that he tends to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's human nature, you can't ignore it. In our time though, that tendency of believing in, of believing in somebody or something supernatural, superhuman, human beings could not get rid of that. A power beyond human power, beyond the powers we are familiar with. Human beings could not get rid of that. Why? Because it is part of human nature. You just can't get rid of that. So we need to know. You may call it differently. Some people may call it nature, some people, this or that, whatever. But you have to believe there is some power who is working out there. So for Muslims, we need to know Allah exists. And the best shot that I have heard up until now could not express the fact, or I say fact because they say it, that Allah does not exist. Nobody could bring a single thing on that He does not exist. So first thing, we need to know that He exists. Second thing is that He is eternally ancient. He has always been without any beginning. Allah, we need to believe about Him that He has always been, and we don't know the beginning because He doesn't have a beginning. No starting point. And the subsequent result is very simple. If something does not have a beginning, you can't assume an end. Because an end will necessitate a beginning. Something starts and ends. If you don't have a starting point, how can you imagine an end point? So He is eternal in the past and beyond past. He is eternal in future and beyond future. He does not have any beginning. Right? That's the point number 3 we have here. And the point number 4 here is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a substance that can be isolated. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they use the word jawhar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a substance that can be isolated, means that can be defined. Or that can, mutahayyuz, they use the word tahayyuz. Mutahayyuz is something that takes a place, that covers a space, any particular space. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have a body. That's the main theme here when they say Allah is not an isolated substance that can be defined. You can't define Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is one of the basic principles of Sharia. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't define Him. You don't know Him as to His reality. You know He is, that's it. You know He has attributes because Allah has told us about them. If He doesn't tell us, we don't know. So that's the basic principle about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He is not an isolated and definable substance. He transcends that which resembles isolation, which resembles any body, which resembles anything that we can imagine. He is beyond imagination. That's what we need to believe in about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he is not a body composed of substances. So the whole thing here is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he is beyond our comprehension. A human intellect, a human spirit or spiritual abilities or intuitional approach, whatever a creation may have, cannot reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our imagination is Allah's creation. Imagination is not Allah. So whatever we can imagine, Allah is beyond that. That's what we need to believe about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And under that same title, we have point number 6 here. Yes, point number 6. That he is not an accident. Accident, by accident means somebody originated. Accident, by the word accident over here, when we discuss about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when say he is not an accident, it means he is not originated. Accidents happen. Allah does not happen. He did not happen. So from that understanding of accident, they use the word accident, somebody who is originated. He does not have an originated form or originated meaning. Right? He does not connect to something else. But when they say existing in a substratum, the point here is, if I explain this wall, it's a body. Allah is not like that. But the whiteness you see on it is always with wall. If you see milk, whiteness is with milk. Milk is gone, whiteness is gone. That whiteness is the substratum that you can call. So Allah is not something that like a body, that is like a body, and is not something that can be attached to something else and could be known through that thing. Like whiteness could be known through the things that are white. Blackness could be known through the things that are black. Redness could be known through the things that are red. So either the thing or the redness that is attached to it, either way you can't define Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is beyond these two aspects. So that is the belief about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we need to have. And then it says that number 8 is also a very significant point, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seated upon the throne in the sense which He willed. Allah subhanahu, there is a very hot discussion on that. Allah is on His throne or not. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Never get into that. Because Allah is or not. Even if it is not something physical we can think. He's settled what way? We don't know. Why? Because He doesn't have a body. He is not an attribute to be attached to the throne. He is not like that. He is not a body that can settle on the throne. He is not like that. And that is the reason, a very basic and very fundamental point Imam Malik rahmatullah always said about the attributes of Allah. When we say Allah has hand, has face, whatever, we believe the way it is and we don't know how. And we don't know how, and we are not allowed to ask how. Because that is something beyond our comprehension. Why wasting time in that? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond any type of understanding human beings can have. And the 9th, that's the meaning he says, state, which is not inconsistent with the quality or grandeur, and to which the symptoms of initiation and annihilation do not permeate. These two qualities don't go there. He can't be finished. These qualities, being finished or remaining there, are the qualities of for some time, are the qualities of the substances. And anything that is related to substance cannot be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah, in the hadith you find Allah comes down, we don't know how. In hadith we found Allah will be sitting on His throne, we don't know how. Quran says you will see His shin, we don't know how. On the day of judgment, we don't know how. So that's the simple, basic principle about Allah, we don't know how. Yes, is there that thing? He has a face? Yes. How? We don't. Will you find out? No. That's the basic bottom line when we believe about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we need to stick to that. So these are a few points related to the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we say we know that He exists, then He exists with these qualities. Right. And another point is He does not confine to any direction. Can't be on the right or on the left or above or below. These things do not relate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is beyond that. And we need to believe in that the way it is. Yes, still on the day of judgment people will see Him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ. There will be faces which will be fresh, out of joy on the day of judgment. Why? إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. They will be looking at their Lord. So they will be looking. Our people will see. But what would be the state? Without anything that we can imagine. Beyond anything that we can imagine. And the last point here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does not have an associate, He is single, He does not have anything like Him, and He alone created and invented, and He alone brought to existence, and He alone invented and innovated, and there is no rival to contest. There is no equal to contend, nothing of the sort is possible. So this is the pillar number one when we want to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the understanding that we have as a Muslim. And we need to understand that. The second one is about the attributes of, this was about the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second one is about the sifat. The attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was studying and I was thinking, you people are giving me something which is not very interesting in studying and in discussing. But at the same time, this is significant as well. At the same time, this is important. Because a lot of time, when we don't understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from His description, then we have questions. Why? Because we don't understand. We shall mention some of the rules when we say why this person was ill, why that person had so much and this person doesn't have anything. These questions will come. And the questions are only raised on these topics because of the false understanding of Allah's mercy. The understanding that we have developed. We haven't taken from Him. If we had taken it from Him, we wouldn't have these questions. So I'm telling you this so that you may remain tuned to the end, because that will come at the end. Now about His attributes, the first thing is that He is the maker of this universe and He is almighty. And He is truthful when He says, Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allah has power above everything to do anything. And why? Because His creation is perfect. His making is perfect. And the composition of this universe is orderly. So that has to be the point, that He has knowledge and He has power. Another attribute one of the attributes that we have about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He knows everything that He has created. Ilm is one of the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And His ilm is eternal, not given, intrinsic. Eternal and intrinsic. Any knowledge with these two qualities, even if somebody say, I know this with these two qualities, it is shirk, because with these qualities, knowledge only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we have is not intrinsic. Allah enabled us to do that. We didn't have it. A lot of people don't understand what it is. Why? Because Allah does not allow them to understand it. So what we have is one given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Intrinsic, eternal. Right? And not controlled by anybody else or anything. And this continues with all the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So nothing can escape. Even in the darkest of the nights, in the depth of the oceans, beneath the stones and dust, whatever is there, if there is a black ant and it moves, Allah knows it. It doesn't move, Allah knows it. So His knowledge is so comprehensive. And about one of the qualities about Allah's knowledge is, it might come again, that His knowledge does not change. Any of His qualities do not change. Any of them. You know, I'm talking now, so He finds out that I'm talking now. No. He eternally knew I will do. He eternally knew it. There is a mic in front of me. Does He find out after it has come here? No. He eternally knew it. This is also one of the attributes of Allah's knowledge. Any knowledge which is not like this cannot be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That can be attributed to creation. Like the knowledge of the prophets. If somebody says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows that I'm talking here, I'm not saying at the moment that, and I'm not going into any argument about that. I want to explain the difference between Allah's knowledge and His Prophet's knowledge. If I say, the Prophet also wants to attend and he wants to know what I'm doing here, he can know. This statement cannot be attributed to Allah. This statement can only be attributed to creation. Why? Because about Allah, if I say that if He wants to know, He can know what I'm doing, it means He doesn't know. Ma'adallah, thumma ma'adallah. That's not Allah's knowledge. His knowledge is eternal, like all His attributes. His command is eternal, everything is eternal. His will is eternal, nothing comes into being now. That's the meaning. He is not accident. Nothing comes to, if He has intended me to speak here, if somebody believes now He has intended, so I'm speaking, no. His will was eternal. And since eternity, it was connected to me at this time. And that connection has made me do this. So it's the connection of that will. The will has already been there. So this is with all the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it is eternal, not accident. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٍ, He knows everything. And then He says, it's very important point here, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ, wouldn't He know that which He has created? And about this ayah, it will come in our subsequent discussion as well. There is a very significant point. How many things Allah has created? Our thoughts are created by Allah. Our actions are created by Allah. Ourselves are created by Allah. Third point here is that Allah is alive, ever living. And His life is also eternal. And you don't need any evidence if we know that He knows that He is alive. Because you can't know if you're not alive. The point number 4 here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills His actions. So nothing exists except that which is connected to His will in eternity. Right? And nothing exists except that with an issue which is made into being, brought into being with the will eternally with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَهُوَ الْمُبْدِي وَالْمُعِيدِ, He is the restorer and creator. And فَعَالِ لِمَا يُرِيدُ, He is the doer of whatever He wills. Nobody can stop Him. Right? And His power is connected to His will. Because there has to be knowledge in order for will to work. And there has to be power. And that knowledge should be able to connect the will with the power. And power should be able to do the same thing in different dimensions at the same time. So all that knowledge, power and will are connected. And they are all eternal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The 6th point here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks. He has speech and His speech is self-existing. My speech depends upon me. Your speech depends upon you. Allah's speech is with Allah and has ever been there. His speech was there before Quran was revealed. His speech is eternal. And the actual speech is the meaning. The words are not the actual speech. Words are not, the mushaf we have printed, these words printed, they are papers and ink, they are creation. They only represent the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The actual speech existed before this was there. He has always been a speaker without words. So the meaning is the actual speech. You communicate by word, you communicate by the signs. We have sign language today. You communicate by words, you communicate by pointing, indicating, gestures, whatever way. The actual speech is the meaning that you communicate. And that has always existed with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was not created. And the next one is that Allah's kalam, His speech, is from eternity. Yes, that's the... Because if it was not for anything that is not eternal, that can change. And something that can change cannot be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very fundamental principle. Anything which was not eternal, that can change. Because it came into being, it can end. Anything that comes into, that starts, that thing can end. It has an end point. That cannot be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The point number 8 is that His knowledge is also qadim. Yes, He never ceased to be unknowing. He has always been knowing. فَلَمْ يَزَلْ عَالِمًا بِذَاتِهِ, about His own essence, about His attributes, and whatever He creates, whatever happens today, I said earlier, does not increase to His knowledge. He already knew it. Nothing increases, and another quality about His attributes, nothing increases or decreases. His knowledge, nothing can increase it. Nothing can decrease it. His will, nothing can increase or decrease it. That is also one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last thing that He is alimun bi'ilmin hayyin bihayatin. He has knowledge which is attributed to Him only. He has power, He has will, He has kalam, speech, He has hearing, He has seeing. Everything as it suits to Him, as it befits Him. Not as we understand. These are the two fundamental things that we need, pillars that we need to believe in when we want to talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Aqidah. The third is concerning the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We talk about Tawheed in Af'al, Tawheed of the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi ta'ala brings 10 points here. Point number one is that we need to know that everything that is originated, any originated phenomenon, is the make of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and khalquhu, creation of Allah and His innovation. Everything that is originated and anything other than Allah is originated. So everything is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no creator besides Him, there is no innovator besides Him. He created, and the second thing is, they say, the awjada qudratum, He created their power, their freedom to opt, what harakatahum, and their movement, meaning their action. So Allah created us, He created power and will with us, which is our will, not Allah's will. And then He created our deeds. And He also created our thoughts, our imaginations. He created our speech, and then He connected them in two ways. In the beginning, before I go ahead, I just say the gist and we will go through them. He connected them how? In two ways. Number one is the connection of all the deeds, all the things with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with His will. And number two, He connected it with our will so that we have an open and free option to choose this or that. So He created both evil and good. And He gave us power to choose any of them, and then He connected that power to them as well. So that is the meaning when He says, On number, one of them is knowing that everything originated phenomenon in the world is of His made creation and innovation. So He connected them in, and then whatever we choose is also created by Him. Our power is created by Him. Our authority and option is created by Him. And on the basis of that authority, He has not made us bound to do something. He has given us free choice. And next one is that despite the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sole innovator of the action and of His servants, does not prevent them from doing voluntary actions by way of acquisition. This is kasb. We earn, we acquire for ourselves. And that is for which we are responsible on the Day of Judgment. We are not responsible for creating an evil thing. We are responsible for choosing it for ourselves. And for that, on that account, we shall be held responsible. Not for creating anything. He has given us power. He has created power in us. He has given us freedom. He has given us authority on many things. And because of that authority and free choice, we are responsible on the Day of Judgment in order for making the choices we make. So that is the meaning here. Number 3 is that the work of the servant, although they are his acquisition, the servant's acquisition, is our earning. We do it, our iktisab, are nevertheless willed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Over here, the will, we use the word not irada for this in our language, but that I mean in our theological language. We use the word mashi'a. Irada is a bit different and mashi'a is a bit different. But they can be used for each other in many places. So, mashi'a, there are 2 things. Number 1, mashi'a, His will. Number 2, rida, His pleasure, what He is pleased with. Number 3 is amr, His command. So there are 3 separate things. The command is not the will, because the will refers to the system where we have an option. Command refers to the thing that He is pleased with, His rida. So these are 2 separate things. When we choose something evil, it is not because He has commanded us to do that. It is because He has created that to test us where we go and commanded us not to do that. So we need to be careful with these 3 different topics and don't be confused by them, by mixing them. There are 3 separate things. Number 1, command. Number 2 is pleasure. They refer to one thing. They refer to the point, thing that He likes, He is pleased with. And number 3 is mashi'at. That is the will according to, that is mashi'at, that is what He has created for us, in order for us to be tested. And these are 2 separate angles of the same thing. And will is connected to all 3. The irada is connected to all 3. I think the point is clear. So we are responsible for choosing that which we choose for ourselves. Then, neither a twinkling of an eye nor a stray thought of a heart ever occur either in the visible or invisible world except through His decree and will. The word decree is normally translated as qada. And I have explained the meaning of the 3. Qada over here is used for will. So there are command, there is pleasure, and there is will. Will has created this and that, evil and good, and command has told us to do the good and avoid the evil. Right? And pleasure shows where He is pleased with, what He likes for us to do. So these are 3 separate things. So things are still within the power of His creation, as we said earlier, that Allah created our power and gave us choice to use it. Then this point number 3, yes, we have mentioned here. And point number 4, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is generous by creating. And He is gracious by enjoining obligations and prohibitions upon us. And nothing was obligated on Him. Always remember, if He gives us something to eat or drink or command us to do or prohibits us from doing anything, nothing is obligated upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is beyond any obligations. He doesn't have to create us. He didn't have to create us. He was not bound to do that. He doesn't have to make us live long. He is not bound to do that. He doesn't have to protect us from calamities. He is not bound to do that. He has no obligation at all. Whatever good He does is because of His generosity. is because of His karam, because of His mercy, not obligated upon Him. We need to know it very clearly. Nothing is obligated upon Him. He is not bound to give us a single drop of water for our life. He created that, He provided because He is generous, not because He was supposed to do that. So this is the basic principle about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's actions. No action is obligated upon Him. If we throw ourselves into fire, He is not bound to protect us. Nothing is obligated on Him. We need to know that very clearly. And that's why we need Him. We need to invoke, we need to do something so that His mercy attends us. That's why we need to do that. So it was not obligated on Him to tell us to offer 5 prayers. Nothing was obligated on Him. Right? And that's on the basis of this, again, the 6th point is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a right to inflict any pain to anybody. He makes anybody ill, He has the right to do that. You will be amazed why? Because He owns us. He is the owner. If He owns, He has every right to do whatever He wants with us. Because He owns us. And this is the reason we are not allowed to take our lives. Why? Because it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to Him. He has the right to take it. You know, a lot of time we say he was just a child. He has a right. It's not our right to decide. This child belongs to Him. If He wanted to take his life, the child belongs to Him, His master. We need to understand that. So nothing is obligated on Him. He is the master. If we work hard entire life and He does not support us despite our hard work, He is master. His is the decision, not ours. Why are we struggling? Because He has obligated upon us to do it. We are not masters, we follow. Just the command is there to do what we can. So we need to know that nothing is obligated on Him. So He can punish them, torment them without any bad deed they have done. He is master. And He can cause hardship without any reward in the hereafter. He is master. And we need to believe in that. And why Imam Ghazali brought this chapter before the chapter of what we should be like? Because once we know Him, it makes it easy for us to understand where we stand. It makes us, it helps us come in the way He wants us to go. So He brought this first. So nothing is obligated. Number 7, He does what He wants. He does what He wants to His servants. فَلَا يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ رِعَايَةَ الْأَصْلَحِ. He doesn't have to take care of the benefit of people. Oh, I have to do things that benefit me. No. He doesn't have to do anything to benefit us. There is nothing obligated upon Him. We need to have the faith. Then why we go to Him if nothing is obligated? Because He is generous. We go to Him because of His generosity, not because He is bound to help us. And the 8th point is, and the ayat Quran says, "La yus'alu amma yaf'al." Nobody asks Him what He does. He is not responsible to anybody. He is not accountable to anybody. He is master. That's the meaning of master. So He is the master. And the 8th point is that cognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is an obligation to obtain, to acquire. Why is it obligated? Because He has obligated it. Not because we understand we should know. No. We understand is nothing. He is the master, His command is everything. A lot of time people say, what's the benefit of doing this? Or what's the harm of not doing, benefit of not doing this, eating this halal and haram? We are not supposed to know the benefits. If we can find out, fair enough. Otherwise, it is his command. He's the master. You don't ask your master why I should do this. You do it because he commands it. That's it. And he has a right to command. That's why we do it. And we need to make ourselves clear here. Right? And the point number 9, Imam Ghazali brought it because some people used to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot send a messenger. So some Brahma, some portion from Hindu community, they used to say that. So he says there is no problem with that. He sends messengers. And the last point here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the last messenger who abrogated all the laws before him. Law given to Musa alayhi salam, the law of Jews and Christians or Sabians, all of them. Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has repealed them all. None of those laws exist or is valid after the law of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he is the last prophet. Any thought that suggests the permissibility of a prophet after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in whatever meaning, that thought is disbelief. That's clear disbelief. There is no possibility at all. And he was given clear miracles. He split moon. Quran mentions that. You know, the camel, animal, they spoke to him. He made them speak. There are a number of, numerous, beyond count, miracles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He commanded tree to come, and tree came. He commanded the pebbles to speak, and they recited Shahada. A number of them, and the most comprehensive and competent of those miracles is Quran. It is such a challenging miracle that those people who were master of speech, they were orators, they were poets, they were people of literature. But instead of bringing something like this, they started conspiring against him in other ways. Why? They knew they couldn't do it. It is such a marvelous and such a solid challenge to them, unbeatable. Nobody can meet to this challenge. And the last thing, I'm going towards ending it. I think I've taken a very long time. It's going to be 2 o'clock. The last thing, the 4th pillar, concerning the accepted things and believing in what the Prophet ﷺ has told us concerning those things. Number 1, we need to believe in Hashr, the resurrection on the day of judgment. Allah will bring us all together. And there are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I created you once, I'll create you again. What's the problem? If I created you first, why not إِنَّمَا خَلْقُكُمْ وَبَعْثُكُمْ مَا خَلْقُكُمْ وَبَعْثُكُمْ إِلَّا كَنَفْسٍ وَاحِدٍ. You're creating you and resurrecting you, the same thing. Right? Number 2, we shall be questioned and tested in our graves. We need to believe in that. And Holy Prophet ﷺ told us that. And we shall be able to understand an angel's speech, because Holy Prophet ﷺ used to speak to angels, and people were there in front of people. Number 3 is we need to believe firmly that there will be punishment or reward in our graves. Adab al-qabri haqqun, the Prophet ﷺ said. Number 4, we need to believe that there will be mizan, a scale, or the balance on the day of judgment. And our deeds will be given weight, and there will be weight on that on the day of judgment. وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ, and on the day of judgment we shall place the scales. فَمَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, those whose scales will be heavy, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. So that is a fact. We need to have faith in that. Number 5 is the bridge. The bridge it stretches over the hell, over the Jahannam. And we need to believe in that. And number 6, that the Jannat and Dozakh, the hell and the paradise, they are not going to be created. Doesn't that feel strange? They are not going to be created. Who believes they are going to be created? Nobody should, because they have already been created. They have already been created. They are there. Right now they are there. And number 7, that the righteous and rightful Imams of the Prophet ﷺ are 4 in their order. Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Umar, then Sayyidina Uthman, and then Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu ajma'in. And that's the order of their status. Because the actual excellence, what is the actual excellence, we can't know. Allah and His Messenger know. And those who have seen them, seen the revelation come down, they know where it belongs and what it means. So their decision and their statement shows us what Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam meant. So they all agree on that. That they are number 4, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. This is the order of their status as well, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu ajma'in. And number 9, the qualification of imamat after Islam and taklif. Taklif means being charged by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to perform obligations and to avoid prohibitions. That is the meaning of taklif. Dhukura, being male person, and being righteous, being knowledgeable, and being competent, therefore. And then some also add the being from Quraysh, but it's not one of the obligatory ones. And the last one, if these things are not found in a person, and by force he has occupied the authority or consumed or got hold of the authority, then if we see that there will be problem and it will be more difficult for Ummah to try to remove him, then we say, okay, let it go ahead with him. Allah will change him soon. Otherwise, we don't like to accept anybody who does not fulfill these requirements. So they say, they give the example, in that situation, it is better that we don't destroy the whole city in an effort to rebuild the one house. That's the example they give. So these are a few very fundamental things Imam Ghazali rahmatullah has explained in his book, Ihya Ulumuddin, and these are the fundamentals of Aqidah that we need to believe in firmly. And I think I have not taken longer than 45 minutes, or if it is longer, then I apologize for that. I hope it was not boring, and I hope it will benefit. And the next topic in our next session will be, I just give you the title of that, because it will be four or five sessions until August, inshallah. And the next one is about the apparent deeds, salat and Saum and Hajj and etc. Inshallah. What's the secret behind them? What are the spiritual benefits of them? Inshallah. But it was important to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that we are able, we know Allah, and through that we know where we stand and what course we should take. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us proper understanding of it.
Thank you very much to the Imam for his